AnySquared Spotlight Art Talks highlight member and friend artists of all ages and experiences.
Um, Welcome everyone to AnySquared Spotlight. This is a virtual platform for artist lectures that features artists of all skills, experience, and backgrounds. I am Brett Swinney, tonight's guest host, and I am so pleased to be able to present Tracy Kostenbader, who has been an essential component to the art ecosystem in Chicago for, you know, I'm not gonna say how long because I also just don't know, and I'm just kind of riffing. But at the same point, it's just has been an essential rock within the river that all of us kind of flow around. And so Tracy and I have been art partners for the last decade. And to see Tracy contribute to the system, not only as an organizer, but as an artist, but as a person, and also just a person with a great laugh. And so if you're ever lucky, you'll be able to not only experience Tracy's artwork and her organizing, but also if you get her to laugh, it's rewarding. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. And I'm going to pass over to Tracy, who's going to trace us through her not only creative professional career, but also just her organizing and well-being in general. So thank you so much for joining us. Tracy, here's to you.
Hey, thanks, Brett. It was so nice to have you introduce me. I'm going to go through these slides and kind of describe different things that I do. I can't possibly talk about everything that I do in total, but like I'm going to give you little slices of different things. When I talk about like arts organizer, I'm just going to talk about a few things very briefly. When I talk about artists, I selected different pieces. I've probably done hundreds more pieces that I'm going to show. And also, you know, I'm just showing you a slice of me as a designer and a book conservator because all of those things make up all the things that I do. So I'll start with, sorry. I decided to share some kid pictures of me and my family. Like all of my siblings can find themselves in these pictures. You know, like me reading, me crying, being held by my mom, younger pictures of me. Because my family is very large. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters, and I have a big extended family, and they have been influential in the fact that I like to be around a lot of people and a lot of the things that I do, and the fact that I can do lots of different things at the same time, and also concentrate when there's a lot of noise around is because of my family. So, and you know, I grew up in Florida and New Jersey. Different parts of my life were spent in each place. Um, and I came here to Chicago when I was 18 years old and went to the Art Institute of Chicago, and and that's when I arrived here. So so I have a studio here, and I've lived here for 28 years at the space that is now called AnySquared Studio. I've been here since 1993-ish, maybe 92, 93. I can't remember exactly. Um, but I've been here a long time, uh, and uh, and this place I call home is threatened right now, but we're still here, and we're still doing things, and we're still making things. And I've always had it as a collective space at different times, a DIY space. And as like we used to have benefits for the autonomous zone here. We used to have I used to host parties that were benefits. I used to host different kinds of meetings. We used to have the Anarchist Film Festival meetings here. We used to have all kinds of meetings here. I would let different groups use my space, and that happened throughout the time I was here, including doing social events that are just for social events. So this is like different shots of my studio, um, and me working in the studio at different times, when it's really messy and I'm getting a lot done. and then uh, and then these are like, you know, different in process images of my studio at different times when I was making different things. I just thought people might like to see different images of my studio. Um, more and more. I think the studio has made it easy for me to do a lot of different organizing and different things in my life. And so throughout this time and throughout since around 1991, um, I I was doing really serious activism. I started off by going to an anti-war march in 1991, going to Washington, D.C. That's one of the things that got me activated. I've always been a feminist. I've always been anti-war. I've always been anti-racism. I've always done different things in my life. But in 1991 is kind of the year that I got more active and started doing a lot more things. And so with that, I uh, I rode a bus to Washington D.C. and went to a national march against the first Gulf War, and that's when Daddy Bush was in office, not Baby Bush. And and I met a person called Marlene Kamish, who became a dear friend of mine and my best friend. Um, and we worked together on so many things, including Manuel Salazar, freeing him from death row, and Mumia Abu Jamal's case. Even though he's not death row, even though he's not free from prison, her work got him off death row. People are still trying to free him. All of these different kinds of things I've worked on, all kinds of issues. I'm not going to talk about everything, and the train's going by, so I'm going to pause for a second. And I was, involved with different groups. I was involved with this group called Refuse and Resist for a while, and then I was involved with Autonomous Zone. But a lot of my work in the 90s was doing different things. And one of the things that I did is like help different groups do do design for them, do design for different groups. Like on the top or the bottom left here are books that I have designed for different groups, like News and Letters and the Autonomous Zone. And I helped out in that way. I'm sure that the designs look very dated because they are from 20 years ago. Um, and then some of the other designs, like the Paying the Price and DVD cover, I did for Chiapas Media Project, which I've been doing designs for them since I think 1999. And so I put my skills as a designer to work for different things. And still, one of the more recent ones, I did this little Cuban experimental short films poster recently. And then the TV Serrana and the Cerrando Distancias. All of these I did for AMI, America's Media Initiative, who I've had a deep partnership with Alex Halkin in terms of designing things for that group. Chiapas Media Project, which she also runs, is a very special organization. Um, it is it's been around for a while, and that's the first one I work with her, where she got equipment and film and things and taught people how to use the equipment in Chiapas and had people produce their own videos, not videos about them. it's not an outsider's point of view, it's an insider's view. It's not a colonial point of view. It's from the people who the videos are about, telling their own stories. So that's why I like that project so much, is people got to tell their own stories. And the Chiapas Media Project has been around about more than 20 years. This in the top left is the 20th anniversary poster from 2019. I also did different logos for Fair Food Across Borders, and End of Love, which is a video thing that Alex also did. So I've been and Alex is also now on our board, our new board. AnySquared is becoming a not-for-profit, and Alex is part of our board, which is awesome. And you know, over the years, a lot of the things that I've been doing is offering me as a designer or a painter, like painting banners and things for different projects. And that is how I've offered my art part. And I did that for a very long time. And sometimes I did that more than I did art. So I wanted to talk about that, you know, and this is little examples. And let me get back to the slide. This is, I wanted to have a little tribute to my friend Marlene Kamish, who I worked on the committee for the defense of Manuel Salazar, and also to free Mumia Abu Jamal as a legal assistant for Mumia's case, and as an organizer and helper in her office for Manuel Salazar. I wanted to talk about these two things because they're very forming in terms of my experience as an organizer and where I come from, you know, in terms of doing things in my life. And I wanted to talk about it because she very much influenced my life. I have a little statement up there. I don't want to talk too much about her in that way because, you know, I don't want to cry. I love her so much and I miss her so much. She died in 2008. And I worked with her for, you know, nearly maybe 20. I met her in 1991. It was like through 2008, I worked with her at different times. She had a very long illness, and I'm very sad that she got so sick, and she is missed by many, many, many people. And the top right corner is Fabio Gravero, who worked in her office, and he was, you know, he was there towards the end before he got free. I remember when the best part of stuff is, I'm going to go to the next slide. So I'll talk about Manuel's case, and also him as a person. He's an artist that was in prison, and he he was on death row, and he was accused of killing a policeman. He was a young kid in a car full of kids. His car got pulled over, and the policeman started beating him, and the other kids scattered, and he beat Manuel to a bloody pulp. And then the officer like pulled out a gun and said, "I'm gonna kill," you know, he's like threatening him, and then Manuel is like trying to keep the gun out of his face. And then we think that the other officer shot the cop. And it's been a long time since I talked about his case, so I forgot so much. But we had a whole campaign around his case, and we did banners, and we did little brochures and things like that. And we were in the Mexican Independence Day parade every year, probably for 5 years in the mid-90s. And this little newspaper is something that we had produced to hand out to the community. And he's from Joliet, but a lot of people in Pilsen and Little Village are the reason why he's free. Many artists in Pilsen and Little Village basically helped free him. I organized about 70 art shows in all kinds of places, at colleges, at community centers, different things. We had many different events and things, and all of his shows were called Luz Entre Reja, and it meant light through the bars. And we felt like every time he had a show, he was escaping. And so part of what I was doing was organizing, putting up art shows for him. And then also I got Marlene in touch with my art professors at the Art Institute of Chicago, where I went, and they testified in court for him about his value as an artist, and all the spectrum of things that we did, like postcards, demonstrations, parades, art shows, all of those things were what made it so that he could be free. And he's been free since 1997. This is a long time ago. And we worked on that for quite a few years. And there were so many people involved, and it was amazing. Sometimes we would have, the train's going by. Sometimes we would have, 200 people at the Mexican Independence Day parade, either holding signs or we would have a float, and then the drawing in the bottom left corner is somebody who needed a drawing for like one of the floats, wanted me to do something where he's painting with his shackles on, but he's freeing himself through painting. So that is a little drawing by me. And then this is like a little article. It's not a little article. It's one of the articles in the little newspaper that we did, written by Alfredo Oviedo. And he was one of the first people to support Manuel when Marlene first started working on his case as his lawyer. And, he was part of all the things that we did. We had an art show at a Supreme Court hearing in Springfield, Illinois, the state Supreme Court. We had an art show, and we took over the entire Hall of Flags because everyone in Illinois is allowed to use that space. They may have changed the rules because of us, but we basically so the picture here on the right side is like a picture of our art show. We got temporary walls and we put them in the Hall of Flags. We had a rally for people in the auditorium in the Hall of Flags during his Supreme Court hearing. We had people. These are demonstrators. This is all about people from Chicago and Joliet going to Springfield. And we stayed overnight and stayed on a church gym floor. And we had an art show, we had a demonstration, and we had a rally, and we had people doing plays, and we had music. It was all arts. Like all the arts were part of it. It was like video, film, music, art, visual arts, and then also performances. So the whole thing was like a pan art thing. So it was like mixing everything together. And so for all of us, we did all those things together. So this is actually the top pictures where it says Manuel Salazar and the people building stuff. That's here in the studio. That's probably from about 1993 or 4. I can't even remember because we built this float that we had in the Mexican Independence Day parade. But you can see in the background, my studio looked really different. And then on the bottom is some old pictures from Springfield. I don't have all my pictures from this. And one of the pictures is from an exhibit we had. And then the bottom left picture, I look very terrible in that picture because I was exhausted. But that's when we visited. It was Dolores and I visited Manuel in prison. So that's him in the bottom corner. He's a really great guy. He's just living a quiet life. So when he got free in 1997, I was also working with different groups. I was on the Chicago committee to free Mumia Abu Jamal as well, and Mumia is a political prisoner on death row. He's innocent. Someone has confessed to doing the thing that he's accused of. He's also accused of killing a policeman. And so I'm not going to get too much into that. You can look up Mumia. Unfortunately, there's also terrible sites that the cops have made about him, but he's a wonderful person. He was a journalist. He used to be, he also was a former Black Panther, and he's an amazing person. And he's done so many things in his life. And as he was covering all these things that were happening to the MOVE organization in Philadelphia, the police had been threatening him already. And then he was framed for killing a police officer. And actually, someone else has confessed to doing it. And you can, if you want to know more about his case, you can ask me. But I'm not going to go into the details about it, other than he's innocent. And I was part of the Chicago committee to free Mumia Abu-Jamal for many, many, many years. We also had a relationship with different national groups and different things. You know, this is a little weird display that I made with all the quotes from different people who support Mumia, that when we would like go out and talk to people, we would have that out so people could understand who he is. And on the left is Ramona Africa, Pam Africa, and Julia Wright holding a flag that I made because I did a silk screen. I did all these silk screens, and I actually brought a silk screen with me to Philly and gave it to them so they could make more flags. And people would hold them in demonstrations. And actually in Chicago, I did another silk screen, and I sent it all to all these organizations. And whenever we had a Mumia march, I would secretly send them. They didn't know where it came from, and I would see some of them. And it was kind of fun to see the thing that I made like out in the streets. And then I also made flags for Manuel. I forgot about that one too. And actually here, this is Marlene, and there's Pam Africa. Marlene was Mumia's lawyer briefly starting in 2001. There's a whole story behind how she became his lawyer, but I had been working on his case for years, and she filed an amicus brief in his case to support some arguments that his former lawyers were not working on. There's a lot of details about that, but this is not a talk about his case. It's more like I'm giving you an idea that I was doing all these creative things during his case, and spreading it around. You know, I was so happy to bring the silk screen to Philadelphia and see people, you know, have pictures with the flags that I made. And then this is like all kinds of pictures of all kinds of people doing activism around Mumia's case. Here, the Free Mumia Abu-Jamal Stop the Execution poster. I made one, and you can see them in different pictures in the demonstrations. You know, it's okay. It's an okay poster. I made like hundreds of those posters. I was a silk screen machine. And then this is like some more items about his case. Jamal Journal from 1995, different flyers from 2000, stickers, pins. I didn't design all these, but like I did the little brochure that says it's time to intensify our efforts to free Mumia Abu-Jamal. I did the little flyers. I would be doing all kinds of things for this. So I always was doing creative things, even if I wasn't making. I also made artwork during this whole time from the mid 90s to the early 2000s. But I also I was just doing smaller scale and smaller work. And also I was involved with the Autonomous Zone. It was an anarchist space, and we did all kinds of things. We had an info shop. We would host Food Not Bombs. We did, for 10 years, like more than 10 years, we did the Anarchist Film Festival. And these are all kinds of cards that I designed for the film festival. I was always doing the press releases and the designs, and we would do t-shirts, and we would do posters. This is not my poster, but I put it in there because it was like something that we did together that included much. I'm gonna wait for the train. There was a thing called active resistance, which was during the Democratic National Convention in 1996, and it had all kinds of people from all over the United States come together, and we were doing puppets and art and things and protests and stuff. And my friend Tony, who used to be my coworker, did this poster in the middle, and it was kind of an amazing event and brought a lot of people together. I was involved with the Autonomous Zone on and off throughout the 90s, but really became part of it more in the late 90s, even though I had, flirted with it and hung out with there and did things, but really solidly did it like kind of probably after 1997 or 98. That's me, with an IWW flag flying, but I'm holding my Anarchist Film Festival posters. So I can't remember what year that was, but and also I did this little Midwest Anarchist Book Fair poster. I designed this one. So, I was doing all kinds of design and art stuff with this as well. And so before I end, so the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because being an activist has definitely formed my philosophy around AnySquared. I believe in mutual aid. I believe in taking care of people. I believe in people sharing things and not being so elitist. So all of that, I just wanted to say all of these campaigns profoundly affected my life, and I can't tell you how it did, but it did. It's so many ways. And so I'm going to go back to this. So switching gears, I'm also a book conservator. I was working at the Adler Planetarium since 1997. And unfortunately, they laid me off last March, but they have hired me back in little increments like last fall. And like I'm going back there at the end of August for a minute. But they said they might not hire me back regularly until next spring. But I love this job. I get to fix, 100-year-old books, 300-year-old books, 500-year-old books. And I've been doing it since I was 18. I was working in the book conservation department at the Art Institute, and that's where I learned how to do it. But I've been working for the Adler, where Art Institute recommended me, since 1997. And it's a craft, and I build book boxes, and I repair the books, and I do many, many, many things. I hope everyone can hear me. There's a lot going on in the background. It's studio day. I'm just gonna go.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you're coming through clearly. It's wonderful. Keep on, Tracy. Come on, do it.
Okay, and so these are just different kinds of books I've done, and it's like I've been doing this since I was 18. I was training to do it. I started off making boxes, and then my boss would share everything she learned. She would bring back to us, and we would constantly be learning things when I worked at the Art Institute. And then she felt that I was good enough to recommend to the Adler, and I've been doing books for the Adler since 1997. And I love these books. They're beautiful books. It's amazing. It's shocking how wonderful they are. And so many of them, when I do them, I always take pictures of the best illustrations. Like the dragon one, and that one spins, and the little weird one in the middle that has the bears, and the weird strange serpenty dragon thing, and the fish. Like they always have these strange illustrations of animals that are just odd looking. It's a weird kind of thing. I also I mostly fix the bindings, usually the covers, because they're usually in pretty good condition. The ones that are older, 200 years or older, the paper is great. The covers just get worn out because the opening and closing. The ones that are really falling apart are the ones from the 20th century that are made out of acidic paper. Hey, and then so And now we're going to talk about art. Actually, now we're going to talk about art. I'm sorry that I've been making really strange shifts, but these are all different things that I do, and it actually, I'm a pretty skillful bookbinder and book conservator, and so it's like a skill I've acquired because I've been doing it since I was 18. So sorry. So I did a little section here because I wanted people to see some of my older work. So you understand where I've come from. I made a lot more juicier paintings, like really messy paintings when I was younger. And I also did these electronic images that were photography collages. And a lot of them, like I would layer text and image and stuff onto. And I also did kind of really expressionistic paintings that were very deep colors and have a certain amount of intensity. And the left one is gifts. I can't remember who has this, but I don't have this anymore. And the right one you can recognize from the studio because it's over my sink. It's a photographic print. In the olden days, like when I was doing these in the late 80s, we used this Lumina system. Photoshop came out in 1990, but pre-1990. We were using this weird professional photo editing system that was like DOS based, and it was ridiculous, and it was this huge giant computer complex, and you had to sign out the room and use the space, and you would scan in the photos, but then to get it out from electronic to reality, concrete, we had this weird setup where you'd have to take a photo of your screen. This is kind of the reason why I showed these, because it's kind of funky. Like you had to take a photo of the screen, and we had this setup that would cover the screen, and you had a camera on it. And then this photo was printed in the darkroom. So it's this weird combination of digital and analog, because the kinds of prints that they had at that time were like bubble prints, and they were like really grainy and stuff like that. And so the best way to get the best images were from taking shots from the screen. So I just wanted to share that because it was a weird process, you know, and let me see. So these are all some old ones. I showed you like that one because that's my favorite. I also wanted to show these because it's me experimenting as an art student. You know, I did electronic stuff, I did painting and drawing, I did some sculpture, I did some video, because the School of the Art Institute encouraged you to be multidisciplinary. And so I did a lot of things, but I did a lot of like images on the computer. These are all computerized images, and some of them I pixelized on purpose because I wanted it very evident that they were from a computer instead of a photograph. And they're all photo collages of photos I took and I scanned in, and then I took the weird screen and took photos off the screen and then printed them in the darkroom. I think Brett will like that one. So I didn't get a chance. I don't have these scanned in properly. So there's like some glare on them and stuff like that. They're really deep colors and stuff like that. So I was doing this, as you can see, chairs were happening in my work in the 80s as well. I used them as portraits. That's why I was using them then. And different repeat, you can see the same kind of chair on the left, the top chair, and the other chairs here. Like this is, I basically also used my roommates as model. That was my roommate Darren at the time, who, rest in peace, he passed away in 2012, which I'm really sad to say. And then my old roommate Kiru. So those are her on the right hand side. But I also did ones with just objects. And then I just thought I'd show, like, I also was doing academic work. This is like drawings, you know, like figure drawings and still lifes. And these are not like the best ones. This is just what I could find because like I have few and far between photos from this time of actual artwork. Although the bottom right one is not from that time. That is from figure drawing probably about 5 years ago to 10 years ago. So we used to have figure drawing as a thing. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm having a hard time hearing because everyone's talking in here.
No, Tracy, we can hear you well. Oh, wait, on the train, but we can never hear
Except
you well.
for the train.
The
train's
also,
always
your hair looks very windblown right now. So you look.
Oh yeah, I have a fan on me because it's a little hot in here.
Well, you have a lot of fans on you because there's like 17 people listen to you. Keep commencing.
I think it's the 22.
Math.
Okay. All right. So I just also wanted to show these because these have some to do with some of the work that I've done more recently. The one on the left is wax and pigment on canvas. And it's like, you know, I mixed abstraction with images. These are like kind of mushy paintings I would do when I was younger. And I made messy paintings and I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I always was using dark jewel tones. Actually, you can see that in some of these. Everything's dark and jewel tones, you know. And on the right, this one's hanging over my kitchen to this day because no one ever wanted it. But I always liked it because there's this little part of blue and yellow here that I always loved. I don't know if you can see my arrow, but you know, there's something about it that was like a jumping off point to other work. That's why I showed it. And the one on the left is the same. And see, there's a little chair in there. And a little roller. And then, you know, then it's kind of like, you know, a lot of different things. I have a little column in there. Some things you can't see, and a little cartoony hand. And, you know, I was playing with the thing. We're cutting out some of the surface and pulling it back. I was doing a lot with materials at that time. So, and I just thought I'd show these. These are little drawings because I've always used words and images too, you know, and objects, you know. Look, lies and a cigarette. I laugh at this one now. I laugh at this one. The reason why I want to show is I laugh at it. It's ridiculous. It's very, very angsty and, you know, avoid impatience, you know, remain, you know, independent, aggressive passion. It's like, you know, I have to laugh at myself. I laugh at myself quite a bit. Develop naturally, you know, support, assist, you know, but I still use words and images, but no ego, balance, you know. Anyway, I wanted to show it because, you know, all of us go through different kinds of phases. and like the one on the right is like, you know, and it's like cigarettes and paper bags and spoons and cups and tables. And actually this little thing is actually a music bench. And it was like, actually, this is more about my grandma. Like she always had a piano in the house and this music bench that had all this music in it. I never really learned how to play the piano or anything. And then she had these like long skinny spoons. I think they had a K on them. And then she smoked cigarettes. And I think my sisters will appreciate the things, but they may not remember. What'd you say? Did somebody say something? Anyway, the train was going by. I can't hear when the train's going by. I'm going to drink a little water because my throat is...
Yeah, take a break. You're doing well.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
So the bag, she always had this bag of like little garbage by the sink, like a paper bag rolled up. And then she had these chairs that had these little holes in it. This is kind of a corner of her chair. So this is like a little piece about my grandma and my father's mother, Marianne. So anyway, let me click back on here. Oh, I'm showing this because it's embarrassing, but also awesome at the same time. This is called Bush Bomb. This was done in response to the Iraq War, the Gulf War in 1990, yeah, the first one in 1990-91. It's 9 feet tall and 6 feet wide. It's gigantic. And, you know, I think it's like shows like, you know, my literalness is like 4, 3, 2, 1. And then there's a big bomb in the middle, but it's hard to see because it's also interspersed with the women's crotch. There's a lot of crotches in here. Very art school. The art school crotch. And then, you know, this is like a kind of cartoonish picture of Bush with his tie, you know, fucking the woman, you know, so there's like a giant bomb.
Really?
There's a giant bomb here. This is the edge of the bomb. This is the whole bomb. It's I don't know if you can see it. There's also a little missile here. And then there's like, anyway, so it's like, it's embarrassing, but I wanted to show it because people should see my bad work too. But it's also, it's gigantic work. It's also gigantic work. So I was, you know, this is on the right is like an exhibit it was in. It was called the Foreign Policy Show. So it was somebody offered to buy it and I should have sold it. You know what ended up happening to this? I cut it up into pieces and made it into different art. So it's a weird little thing. Okay, so these are some paintings. One of them I think is still in the studio. I can't remember if it's behind me. It's called Single Breast Sacrifice. And then the other one is Master Tape. I think a friend of mine has this one. My friend Rebecca has this one in Wisconsin. And, you know, I'm showing these because the Master Tape one, I really love the colors and the shapes. And I used to paint that way, like, you know, kind of organically. And then the one on the left is like, you know, slightly feminist, you know, slightly, and it's all painterly. And I think I had very muddy ideas about what I wanted to be painting about. And I think it's reflected in how I'm painting because I would be finding what it was about at this time. I would be pushing and pulling and trying to figure out what I wanted to make it about. And you know, actually I'm kind of freaked out. I just realized the actual portrait here is of my ex-boyfriend who just died. So I just realized that. I forgot. Anyway, on the left is a painting called Choke. And on the right, it's like a study. You know, again, I'll show you. It's like, you know, the crotch shots. They're always there. They're always there, the crotch shots. It's like very art school. But I shared this particular painting because I like the colors, like the pinks and the reds and the yellows and stuff. And I wanted people to see the intensity of the painting. Like I was really doing mushy oil paint and doing really deep color studies at this time. And the one on the left, you know, definitely is dramatic. You know, I felt like somebody was like trying to hold me back. So I just put, you know, I had the ghostly hand holding my neck and I was trying to paint. And then there's, you know, a bunch of stuff, but at this time, same thing, trying to find what the painting is, not really quite getting there. I'm not sure I was sure about these, you know, but I wanted to show them anyway and have people see them because I think it shows, like for me, I also like to mentor people. And I think it's important for people to see the works that I was working through things and trying to pushing and pulling and, you know, and not quite getting there. And this one is still hung up in my house. Nobody wanted it, but I think it has a really beautiful color. You know, I feel like the color in this I was very into and I really liked, and I always liked like the blue, like that weird blue that has black in the background and it's like moody, and the reds and the yellows. I was really just playing with the paint colors and the material. You know, of course I have a hanging woman in there, you know, I think when I was younger, you know, I was really thinking about what it is to be a woman in society. Like for me, like because I went to art school and like a lot of the men were like treated like they were more serious than me. And I was always like dealt with like as if I didn't know as much. And that has happened throughout my life, but much more in the 80s and 90s than now. But also, I think because I'm an older woman now, people respect me more. But when I was younger, I was always dealing with these ideas of not being taken seriously, you know, about my art and my ideas. And so I was doing a lot of paintings about that. And then the one on the left, I just wanted to show, you know, I think this was in my thesis show when I graduated from art school. It's chairs. And I think about them as portraits and things like that. I just wanted people to see it. And this, I love this painting because I love the colors, and I was experimenting again. You know, I did a lot of experimentation. I tried to you know, play around with paint and figure out what I wanted to do as a painter. And then the one on the left is actually in the plant room. Everyone can see it in the flesh. I've had it there for many, many, many years. I've had it in shows a long time ago. It's slightly unresolved, but I always liked it. You know, basically, I found this frame and I painted in the frame, and I was doing this thing and trying to figure it out again, like unresolved. The one on the right, um, it's called Paternal Turtle. And it's kind of about my father, you know, and like uh anyway, I don't want to go too much into it. You know, my father was, you know, not the greatest of guys, and and he was, anyway, it's like I have the playpen there because we I remember going to the print shop where my father had a print shop. My mom was like the paste up artist and graphic designer at the print shop, and we would always have a playpen there because my mom and dad brought all the kids, because there were many of us, to the print shop, and they would be hanging out in the playpen while the printers were going. And you know, it was weird because like it always smelled like this particular smell of chemicals from making the plates and all the ink. I remember that ink smell. Like it was and my father had like a quick printing shop, which they had before they had copy machines in the 70s. And so this is kind of about that, but and also about, you know, what I thought as the failings of my father. But I remember like all the kids in the playpen, like there would be 3 kids in the playpen because there were 3 kids young enough to be in the playpen, or 2 kids. I can't, you know, I can't remember everything. It's vague in my mind because it's so long ago. I mean, I'm 53 now, and
does the yellow circle represent anything?
I can't remember. It may have. It may have.
Just curious.
I couldn't remember. If you have any thoughts on what the yellow circle means, Kim. Kim is my sister.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, you could tell me in the chat. But anyway,
I also really want to talk about your use of yellow. So we're gonna actually spend a big yellow kind of portion after this whole thing.
Okay, sure. And I use, you know, when I was younger, I used a certain kind of palette. If you notice, like all of them are darker, you know, like everything's darker and more intense. And okay, so here's more yellow. More yellow. On the left is cut down to size. I can't remember what this painting is about. I can't even remember who has it. I don't have it anymore. Somebody liked it and they own it. I gave it to somebody or they bought it. I can't remember. It's an older painting. You know, of course, the obligatory art school boobs. You know, but you know, I think it was like kind of the same kind of theme of like, being frustrated and trying to figure out who I was as a woman in society and all of these things. I was going through it, especially as a young woman. I felt like, I think as an older woman, I don't feel the same intensity of this happening because it wasn't the first time it was happening to me. Like when I was in college and out of college, some of these things were the first time I was experiencing these things in the real world versus like in high school or things like that in the real world. And so it's like it's something that, you know, was a recurring theme when I was in 18 to 25, you know. And on the left is this little like kind of vertical alignment. They're all like glass slides, and I painted them, and some of them I did images on them, and some of them I chose. I don't know why it's going. Sorry. And you know, it's called Polar Family, and I did wax. I have a little candle at the bottom. This piece doesn't exist anymore because it broke completely because of bad craftsmanship. And it's not that good either, but I thought I'd show it because it's kind of like along the same theme as a paternal turtle. You know, my family, you know, especially like I think when I was 18 and 19 and 20 and 21, I was working through like issues of like dealing with having a crazy abusive father, you know, who was an alcoholic. And so a lot of like, there's an undertone, anything that's about my family at this time was like, now I don't really do anything about him. I haven't for years because I've worked through those feelings, you know? And so a lot of things are like going through feelings about these things. Um, so this is, I'm jumping, you know, to the 2000s because I did a lot of work, but a lot of times in the mid 90s to the early 2000s, I was doing more work for causes and design for causes and banners for causes, all the stuff I talked about first because it's so important to me. And then this, like around 2006, I was living with somebody in 2005, and I designed their whole like little game they did for their art show, and I made it for them. And I was like, why am I doing artwork for somebody else? I'm like, I was helping them because they didn't have the technical skill to do it. And it was a good idea, but I executed their project. But and then in 2006, I kind of started making art again, like on a regular basis. And I ended up getting a little art show at a local cafe, like, you know, like all of us, you know, do who are not in the gallery system. Um, and I did one that was like about everyday objects. And uh, the photo at the left is one of the pieces in the series. And I was doing things about home. And actually, 2006, my friend Marlene was sick, and so I was also making art kind of as therapy too, like working through the fact that she was getting sicker and sicker, and by 2008 she had died. But I, you know, sometimes during this, you know, I would be visiting her, you know, at different times, and I would be, you know, go to her house and read to her, you know, so art became a bigger part of my life and got me through that time, you know, and actually art saved my life. and I started doing things that are brighter and more graphic. I think being a graphic designer, like I've been a graphic designer for Spurtis for many since the mid 90s, and being a graphic designer, truly that practice of being a designer affected my work, and I became more graphic and did more things graphically. I always did a lot of things with electronic stuff and collages of photos and things like that. I always incorporated different things, and I also did videos, which I'm not going to show you the terrible videos I did. but anyway, so in this show also I had this little display of little household objects in little baggies. I actually made over 200 of these. and I sold all of them. They're all gone. So I like them like they were like little baggies of little transfers of these photos that I took, and I transferred them onto drop cloth canvas, and the frames are all made out of Jenga blocks. So because the Jenga blocks were easy to make the frames to stretch on, because they're really actually very straight, because they have to be used as the game. And so I bought myself a nail gun, and I made those 200 frame. I mean, I made more than 200 of them, but like I made as many as I could possibly find Jenga blocks, and I went to all the thrift stores and I asked all my friends if they would give me their Jenga blocks. So I made tons and tons of these little things, and they're little iron-ons, and they're from my own photographs of little objects. And I kind of love these, and I love my display because I always put them in a grid on cup hooks in a little baggie, and it would be like this little wall of objects. And then another thing that I did during this time around 2006 is this is more therapeutic art. It's about me working in Marlene's office when we were like getting threatened all the time on the phone, and we were staying up like 20 hours a day and sleeping for 3 hours a day. This is when she was at the height of working on Mumia's case. I mean, this is about that. It's not during this time. And it's kind of like, I would make, the multi-file file folders will cheer you up, is because I found the beige file folder so boring, and there were boxes and boxes, like we had 80 boxes. And so I started buying color ones so I could see some color, not just all white paper and beige folders. I hate beige. And then don't drink the water, is we were staying in a place that you had to buy bottled water at because it was near a Superfund site, the apartment that she had rented in Pittsburgh to be close to the prison so she could go visit Mumia. And I was smoking during that time, but and that's how I dealt with the stress. There's 36 people on here. Who's on here? Oh my God. and then I did a bunch of different paintings of this I'm glad I can function without sleep, and a little coffee cup. I did a bunch of paintings of that. I just couldn't find any pictures of those. And then how much can we finish before the deadline? We had so many deadlines we had to meet and do, and I was always stapling and copying things, and anyway, so all of the things is a little paranoia, a little drinking, a little coffee drinking, a little smoking, like a little bit of dealing with problems through those meetings. And so that's what this, if anybody has ever seen this painting, I don't think it's up at Cafe Mustache anymore. I think I have it sitting, they gave it back to me recently, but that's what that one's about. And then this is my chairs, my baggage, which it's literally my chairs and baggage photographs I took of them and made iron-on transfers of. And this is the suitcase I came to Chicago in, my mom gave me, and had her initials on it. This is another suitcase. It's actually still sitting out in my hallway with a bunch of books in it. And these are chairs you may have seen in my house or may not have. And also my other baggage that I've had, like literal baggage, but it's also thinking about portraits of things in different phases of life and different things. Like this is my favorite red chair that I've had since I was 18. And different chairs I have in the studio you can recognize. This one just got broken. And this is my favorite chair of all time is this one. So it's literal, and it's also symbolic, It's like it's about kind of looking at things and under like objects as like seeing yourself through your own history. And then I did little paintings for the show too that are like less graphic, like little cheese graters, little like it's like little Windex bottles, different people own them. I don't have any of these pieces left because like this show, I have almost nothing left from all the all the artwork that I made for this. Like I have almost nothing left, including 200 of those little babies. It's like, I don't know. Everyone likes household objects. Boobs and crotches, a little less. I still have those. and then I had that exhibit, and then a year later I had another exhibit called Unuseful. And I did a bunch of, and I got a CAP grant. I wrote a grant and got a little CAP grant for artists to do development of art and documenting art. And it was the first time, like actually, I'm going to say this is the first time I got a grant and the first time I ever did anything like that. And my friend Deborah was like supporting me through all these things. And she was like suggesting I do these things. And I was like being shy and I was feeling insecure and I was feeling all kinds of things. I did this Unuseful series and it's like the use of unwords, but they're actually positive words like unashamed, you know, unleashed, you know, unequivocal, you know, unfettered, you know, they're actually positive words, but in a negative format. And I did things that I used tools and hardware, thinking about like ideas of usefulness and how you can get to the positive things. And so there were a few that I did that were iconic looking, like this one, like I wanted to make a screw, an icon, like, you know, they see the little religious icons. I wanted it to be like an icon, like very centered, rich color, you know, elevated. And then these, here's a couple more of them. They're, you know, a little cartoonish, but like, I was playing around and I had fun with these. I really like these because I don't have any of these left. I don't think anybody in the studio has ever seen these, except for the one in this one. I have a copy of it in my living room, which I reinterpreted as a digital piece, and I made it in a grid and I interspersed different words over top of it too. So anyway, so these are the more iconic ones, and then I did a whole series of ones that had diagrams in them, thinking about how you can get to the, you know, like symbolically, like I'm abstracting this idea of how to, the instructions on how to get to the positive from the negative. You know, I had gone through a really hard time, and these were kind of like coming out of that and becoming stuff and trying to figure out what had been going on. And, you know, see how they have little dotted lines and 1, 2, 3, 4s, and some of them have like different little pieces. I was thinking about diagrams, tools, and how to get to those things. So this is like all symbolic of that kind of thing. And here's some more. Here, I'll close up my face so you can see them. Unbroken, Unafraid. I don't have any of these paintings, and I forgot who has them. I actually forgot who has them. And so these I kind of did. These are a little bigger than the other ones. And the one on the left, I put a little piece of paper on it, which had a copy of a hammer, and the other parts are painted or drawn. And I kind of like showing these because I like these a lot. I mean, this whole series, actually, I like. You know, some of my older paintings, and I did block prints. Here's the old block prints. I did a bunch of these. I probably only did 15 to 20 prints of each, and then I stopped, and the blocks got worn out. I still have some of these blocks, and I've used them in different ways. So anyway, so it's I just wanted to go over this stuff. Brett just texted me. I'm at an hour.
Thanks for like calling out. It's okay. Keep going.
It's okay.
You asked me to do this. It's not weird.
I know. Thank you. No, I'm just teasing.
So this is guest hosting. This was guest hosting all about.
Thank you. So this is a painting my sister has. I know where this one is. I gave it to her because she lived with me in the mid 90s for a short time. And this is of my building. And I did a whole bunch of, after I did this painting, this is the first painting, I did a whole group of paintings that were called, like, in the Unfinished Logan Square series. So I love this painting. And in person, it's really pretty. And Tara can attest to that because she has it. And anyway, let's go to the next slide. And then in the process of doing these paintings of the neighborhood, I was taking all these photos of the neighborhood at a particular time in the it was like 2005, 2006. I was doing these photos of the neighborhood, 2007. Like, I was doing all these photos because I was using them as reference. And then I decided to use them as photos when I had an exhibit called Unfinished Logan Square at Elastic in 2008 during the uncounted Milwaukee Avenue Arts Festival, the first one that wasn't very big. And I had this exhibit, but it was also up for like 3 or 4 weeks, and we had an opening, and we had and I did a bunch of photographs of the neighborhood at that time because I was feeling during this time that we were losing a bunch of things in the neighborhood in terms of what it was, and I was worried about what was going on in the neighborhood. And these are like some of the different final versions of the thing that I did. The one before is a grid that I put up in the exhibit. I mean, that's when I met Sam Lewis, Brett. And then part of the exhibit, I made this little shelf with all these picture boxes, and all these picture boxes are of different places in the neighborhood. And I went around the neighborhood and collected rubble from the areas. And a lot of these places are not here anymore, like the little dry cleaners next to Bus Foremost is an empty lot. The Fireside Bowl's still there, but it's more of a bowling alley, less of a punk destination for shows. We used to go to a lot of punk shows at the Fireside Bowl. And then, this is All Belgians Are Equal is a building on Fullerton Avenue that just got rehabbed. And on the corner where there's that terrible bank, it used to be Cuatro Caminos. I miss Cuatro Caminos. And then the Max Gerber building got torn down to make way for the big Towers of Doom. And then this is like the fruit market is like, and the Cozy Corner signs are very different now. There's no fruit market there. Cozy Corner took over the whole building. There used to be a fruit market and a smaller Cozy Corner. And then the park, the building got torn down, and now it's a new building. Like, and then the Dos Amigos, which I've always worried about getting pushed out of here because I love it here. And then the San Lucas grocery store, which actually moved next door, 2 doors down, and became Barrera after a while because San Lucas sold it to the Barrera family. And then, and this is me collecting rubble in 2008 for the art show. It's probably July 2008. Okay. Anyway, all right, and then I did some paintings of the neighborhood. The left one's at Cafe Mustache. The right one's a cafe that doesn't exist anymore that used to be on Alkeld. And you can see this in person at Cafe Mustache, the left one. And I'll never give this away. It's on loan to Cafe Mustache for a while. And then, the old sign of the Cozy Corner and the Fireside Bowl and all the signs around it. I used to do a lot of different, collages of signs and things. I did probably 4 or 5 paintings of the Fireside Bowl, but I don't have pictures of them, and I sold them. So some more realistic than that. And then I did this in around 2008, after Marlene died, and the little left corner of the thing have little pictures of her in it, like a little iron-on picture of her. And this is like a macro photos of a micro painting where like each little square you see in the thing is like actually a 1/4 inch, but I took these really close-up paintings of them and blew them up, and then I made these little grids of color, and I kind of used it as a symbol of the bright and vibrant person that she was. It's like a tribute to her. But it's abstract, but it's a tribute to her. All the little cut up things and stuff like that. I just want it's as vibrant as she was. She was a very bright and vibrant person. She also always wore red, red jackets, she was very bright in her attire. That's me at New Wave Cafe. We had an exhibit in 2009, maybe 2008. It was the CMYK show, and that is before I did all the pieces. It was unfinished, but I showed what I had, and they're like a little grid of like things. It's still up in the studio. You can see it here. I don't think anyone knows what it's about, and that it's actually a portrait. And it's a symbolic portrait of her as a vibrant person. And then I just wanted to show this because it's a precursor to all my wax paintings, and I'm gonna go a little faster. This is called Too Nice, Nice Squared. Too nice, twice nice, nice squared. It's like when somebody accused me of being too nice instead of kind. You know, and I love this painting. Brett's sister owns it. It's very decorative. I basically used a very old little painting of this like weird gourd, and then I rehabbed it in 2010. And then I did this painting and I sold it right after I made it to a friend of Joe who used to live here, Brett's friend too. We're all lobsters. I know it's very symbolic of some experiences that I have that is cryptic and strange, and only the people who experienced it with me would understand. But I was trying to, I know I do a little Piet Mondrian thing going, but I also do a little design thing. I was playing around with materials, and it's about a particular period of time. And it's, I like this one, and I sold it almost immediately when I finished it. This is like a bunch of different paintings I've done. Some are here, some are not. Some of them I sold, like called Rampant Objects. I had an exhibit in 2012 at the B1E gallery. This is making all these paintings. I did all these 12 by 12 paintings with grids and wax and furniture. And these are a few of them. These are like, and the little screws I did at that time too. A series of them, some bloody screws. These are waxy screws. And then I had plain screws. And I used one of my like prints that fell apart. I used it to make the little screws. It's a combination of prints and wax. And then these are all wax and carving into wax, if you can see. Some of these you can see the carving. I like basically would make layers. I do one color underneath, then put wax on top, and then carve into it. It's a really great material using wax. I do have encaustic paints and things, and I was doing different things with markers and underneath, and then putting wax on top. Some of them have faded, but I think that's the process of the piece. A lot of these I don't have anymore. Somebody bought them, and a few of these I have in the house. And then these are like some more objects that I had in the same show called Rampant Objects. And I had them in a few different places. I was doing little studies, and they're really studies of color and shapes and kind of ideas of usefulness. Instead of dispense, it should be dispense. I see my typo now. And this is, these are like little precious little paintings, and actually I loved them because of the color and the type of painting I was doing. I kind of feel like I was really playing with the paint and and trying to go bright, like trying to change, like all of these, I was trying to change my palette, and especially this one, trying to like not be so dark and heavy and be more light and bright, you know. And then this is like a little installation shot, and I did, you know, I sold all, I don't have any of these left. I gave them to people, or I sold them. There might be one or two in the house here, but most of these I sold and they're all gone. Like they're little, you know, everything from a cleaver to, you know, tools, rampant objects. And different ones, the paintings changed over time, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna move to the next slide. These are the giant screws you see in my hallway in my house. They were in only one show. It was a while ago. I think it was like, was it the postmodern show that Brett curated?
It was a great show. It was super great. Yeah,
it was a really good show.
Yeah. There's these were like 9 feet tall, right? Or no,
8 feet tall, 8x4. They're 8x4 panels, and then these. I just wanted to show these because this is like an old piece on the left that I did like in the 90s, and then I cut it up, and I cut it up and then also like flipped, like interspersed the pieces, and half of them I flipped over and kind of wove together. And it's something that I'm thinking about doing with a bunch of things, and I never finished this series, but I like it because I think I like the way that it looks in the stripes better than I like in the original. And I think that the images kind of like showing up and trying to figure out what's going on and seeing the opposite going is kind of something that I want to do in the future. This is another one that I did this way. Same thing. I took an old figure drawing, and this one's more rigid and you can kind of see what's going on, but it looks like she has 3 boobs. But I took I feel like I kind of want to explore this a little more. It's something that I did a long time ago that I did these around 2015, but I haven't revisited this. But it's something I've been thinking about, you know, because I kind of like this piece. So this is me during this time. I was painting a lot of cells. I called them cell series, like, because I couldn't paint anything else. I couldn't think. I mean, usually I think a lot about my stuff, even if people don't understand why I do it. I think about what it is about and why I'm doing it and trying to figure things out. But these were like more like therapy, like circles and circles and circles and circles and circles and circles, and trying to I didn't have a lot of energy during that time. I was very ill between 2017, 2018, end of 2016, 2017, 2018. I started getting better towards the middle of 2018, and this is one of the only things I could do. So I was keeping active, making art, doing that. And then in 2018, I made these, and these are little obsessive drawings with white ink on black paper. They're like 12 by 12 squares that I did these tiny, 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 tiny little drawings. Each one would take me anywhere from 7 to 10 hours to do. And it was about the process. You know, I just sit there and do it. And so it was more about the healing and thinking about my cells healing, but also meditating on that. And it was you know, I didn't have to think about it that much, but I still was like thinking about the shapes a little bit and doing that. But it was like, it was part of my healing, making these pieces. Okay. And then this I made a few years ago, thinking about like what's going on, advocate. I did different formats of this. I had it in a long line. I've had it in a square. Right now it's in a square because that's the last time I showed it at Women Made Gallery. And this one as well, I had it in my Eating Word series show that was at Agitator Gallery in 2018. you know, when I think about these pieces, I did them, they're more political. And then this one, I had the assistance of Ezel and I'm forgetting her name, her sister assisted me. And then I also used some stencil that like B had done. And I think I have it in writing, the kids' names. I let the kids paint on my painting. Oh, it's Ezel and Etsy. One of the artists here would bring his kids to studio day, and I let them paint on my painting. So at the bottom left, you see their little kitty cats and stuff like that. So it's like a collaboration with the kids, and also using like there's like this little bit of a gas mask here of a stencil that B did with her friend. Um, and I'm trying to remember who her friend was. It's in the text, but anyway, it's reacting to the world. And here is an installation I did at Mary Ellen Croteau's Art on Armitage window gallery. She used to have amazing artists in the window, and I was really touched when she actually asked me to be in her window. Mary Ellen Croteau passed away in the last couple of years, and I loved her. She was such a fierce and amazing woman. She was such a feminist, such an environmentalist, so amazing. Look her up. Her paintings she would actually make out of unrecyclable bottle caps, and were vibrant and amazing. Look up Mary Ellen Croteau. Amazing artist. I love her and I miss her. And she had this great, she let me be in her window, and I did an installation. These are like 6 feet tall screw stencils in the background. And then I put my abdicate and advocate paintings on the wall. And then I also drew circles to frame it in the thing. It's a site specific installation of my paintings, which I did. I painted the wall, this blue jean blue and stuff like that for the thing. I hope everyone can hear me. Everyone's talking in the background. Okay, so this is probably the last like section I'm showing, the Eating Words series. I did a lot of work using words that end in ATE, and I've been using forks and spoons and different things to symbolize how the horrors of that dine on people, and also how people need to get actual resources. And it's symbolic, but I always think, and so what I did when I did the installation is I spray painted giant forks, and Caesar helped do that. Somebody who comes to studio day, Caesar Luna on Facebook, you can find him. But he also goes by the Gray Fox 11 on Instagram. He helped me spray paint all the forks and helped me do the installation on the walls, and a bunch of different people from AnySquared helped remove them. But I used this idea of, for like eating utensils and things, and the words that end with "ate" to describe things as a jumping off point for a lot of different pieces. Some of them had words on them, some of them didn't. An agitator, Andrea, thank you, Andrea, for invited me to a 2-person show at Agitator. Andrea was on the other side of me in the installation of the gallery, and invited me to be part of a show with her. And these are some of the pieces in process that I was doing. I was doing layering. I was taking photographs and then spray painting on the photographs. And I was like doing all kinds of things with the prints, and also spray paint, and also drawings, and also diagrams. I really experimented with this show. I have a few of the pieces here. I did some things on aluminum. I was playing around with the general theme, and then as a jumping off point. And then this is like a little picture of the installation. It's also my Facebook profile, big picture. I had all a grid of little paintings in the background, and then all the forks and the wall. And I did these 3 banners, which were kind of like the centerpiece of the show, like hanging in the center of the gallery. People could walk around them, and I've had them in different spaces. I also had them in the lip exhibit. Here are the three paintings. It actually, the order is violate, incubate, and liberate. They kind of are symbolic of the steps in the process we go through to change the world and heal. Violate and decimate, ruminate, like all these words mean like the stuff people go through in life. You know, people, everyone has different things that they go through. And then the incubate and contemplate and advocate, all these things are like kind of like healing and also changing things. And then liberate, activate, and illuminate is like the end result. These are not in the order they should be, but these are also based on reinterpretations of these little banners. And I can't remember if Marvin Tate has one of these sets of little banners, but I don't know where they are, because I think I sold them all or gave them away. I think maybe Julia Regalado has a set. I can't remember. I can't remember anything anymore. I don't know where any of this art is, except for the big banners. And this, we're coming to a close, and I'm probably not going to go through too much the last section. I'm just going to talk about my art, because I always talk about art organizing. This is a more recent piece I did. Norma from LSNA was collecting a lot of people, asking a lot of people to make art in windows, but we haven't done the show yet. And so I decided, and she was collecting all these windows as like a symbol of gentrification in the neighborhood. And so I have this window, and I said, I'll do my own window. And it's like, I did a little portrait of right now with the towers of doom in the background with Dos Amigos, because my house is under threat, but we're still here, and I'm going to stay as long as I can. And then I did this thing, like repeated the words, and it's not skillfully done, but I kind of have it as a window box. On the right, you can see the shadows that the words make in the cutouts, and I may cut out some more words. This is still slightly in process, and it's new. And it's kind of something that I did for a specific thing. Sometimes I do paintings for a specific thing, and they don't fit into everything that I've done. But this is a newer piece. And then I have my pandemic piece. And this is kind of modeled after this little bird head that sits in the studio, that everyone in the studio frills, like, I know Falco, all these different people. I think even Plant Boy, who's here, drew on it, and I did a little portrait of it. But I also thought it reminded me of like you know, those like medieval, like, you know, plague birds. And I haven't finished it. It's definitely in process, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with this. This is a new experimental piece, but I haven't done anything on it for a little while. I do want to do something with it eventually. And then art organizing. I'm going to go really fast. I'm not going to talk about much. This is go art or go home. We used to say that, go art, like being cheerleaders for art, me and Brett. And so, you know, and so, you know, and I've been doing art organizing probably since 2008, when I was first working with, before I talk about that, I'll come back to these. 2008, when I was working with Nails Neighborhood Artists in Logan Square, when we did a holiday art show, which we did as Nails in 2008, as Chicago Artillery in 2009, and as AnySquared in 2010, and we had it here. And we either charged nothing or like $25 so we can get printed postcards. And we did it here and at Kohl's, and the last one, Chicago Artillery. This is like pictures of our holiday art sale. I made a lot of artists through this, and it was super fun. And it was like something that I was glad I did. And actually, it was my friend Devora who suggested I do an art sale. And then I invited Nails to do it with me. and then I ended up working with them on that, and then we had a collective that Brett and I were in called Chicago Artillery that did it in 2009. But that was a very short-lived collective. It only lasted 9 months, and out of the ashes of Chicago Artillery came AnySquared. And then yeah, this is Chicago Artillery, and then this is another show by Nails. This is the Milwaukee Avenue Arts Fest in 2009 through 2011. I know Brett and I worked on it then. It was an amazing festival with like 30 galleries and things all over. It's not like it is now. We did, and the first time we ever worked on Project Logan was in the 2010 Milwaukee Avenue Arts Festival, and we AnySquared organized this wall. You can recognize the space because of the Hollander building. And in 2011, the first time ABC and all those guys, Flash, organized the wall was in 2011, and this is the first production they did in 2011, which is fun to see. It's the first time we did the wall. We got permission for the whole. We ended up, eventually the wall surrounded the building. It used to be only these two walls, and then I just wanted to show this picture because it's in my house. We had a gallery in my house, and we built walls here, and we had 5 different exhibits here. We had print, wax. We had a bunch of different exhibits here. And then I'm going forward. These are kind of exhibits that we did and different activities. There was a gift one. I mean, this is a whole bunch of stuff that we could probably have a different talk about AnySquared's history. And then we did a catalog in 2011. Hidden on our website is like a PDF of it. And I got the donated. We did this catalog. AnySquared did this catalog, not the people who owned the festival. And I got donated printing from my very nice printer at Mission Press. He's been very nice at donating things occasionally when I've asked. And I just wanted to show this because no one understands how amazing the work we did. Each one of these little photos and descriptions is a gallery. And the list on the left is how many galleries we had. They were galleries in spaces. It wasn't an art fair. It wasn't outside. It was in these spaces. And they were curated and they were themed, and each one was a different theme, and it was amazing. And if anyone in the studio wants to, I found the cards. I can give people a set of cards to see. There were so many. We had 300 artists in these festivals, every time. And then we quit in 2012 because we were being taken advantage of by developers and didn't like it. So that's the short answer. And then, AnySquared, awesome stuff. Gallery Squared, Lip, down in the corner is like a planning meeting from 2016. Because art working, we did the community mural at Project Logan in 2015. Salvage exhibit, all these we've done so many activities, so many things together. And AnySquared has continued to blossom and grow and change every year, depending on who's there. 20 Under 20 was curated by Helen, who came to the studio when she was 16. Against the Fence, we're doing again on September 12th. And actually, we're doing an event. This is me and Helen packing something that we actually had an exhibit in Liverpool that we packed and shipped to Liverpool, and they had it in their space. We did a collaborative thing with this cooperative gallery in Liverpool. And the right is me actually doing one of the first shows we did at New Wave Cafe. Anyway, I'm going to go back a little bit and show the murals, because these are important to my life. We spent 9 months on the Logan Square Dog Park mural. I don't have a full picture, but if you've ever been there, it's like gigantic. Each little section was 18 by 23, and this is my section, but we had 7 featured artists, but 14 sections. And so it's 14 sections of 18 by 23, or not, actually 23 by 23 in some of the sections. And we also did this community mural that we got funded for a year of public art through the Northwest Arts Connection. And I wish I could talk about it a little more. It was a collaborative piece. It was conceptually, Rosa came up with the concept. Jerry painted on it, I painted on it, and about 20 other people painted on this throughout the time we were there. And I just put in the little corner, on the corner, me in a sweater and taped up sweater and hat, because we were doing it through the cold. You know, we were there until November 21st, and it was cold. Eric, Eric Garces, he was there. He helped do it. And it's cold as shit, he says. And in the top right corner, that is our community mural that we did in 2015. We continue to do murals, and you can find a lot of them on our website. The different, or Facebook page has albums, so you can like look them up. I'm super proud of them. This is our last one we did at Art in the Park this year with Unity Park. We always collaborate with Unity Park. And Helen Sanchez Cortez organized this, and she did the original drawing in the background, and then the children and the families and the AnySquareds all painted this, and it came out really colorful and really fun. And it's hanging on the fence on Kimball and I think Schubert, just south of Diversey. You can go see it. You can also go see the Logan Square Dog Park is off of Western. It's between Western and Artesian. And if you go down Logan Boulevard, one of the site where Artesian bends, you can get there and you can see it from there. This one is at Roscoe, the butterfly one. The Becoming mural is at Roscoe and Costner, right by, what is that park's name? Okay, I can't remember. My brain is not working. And then you can still see the mural, the community mural at Project Logan, right here behind the Liberty Bank parking lot on Milwaukee. So these are all around town. I mean, I've never done a giant mural by myself except for this piece on the dog park mural, but I've designed parts of murals, and I designed it was Rosa's concept, but I designed the Rosa Pineda. I designed the layout of it and stuff, and different artists painted on it, and different pieces were done by different artists. And I tend to do group projects that we can have both painters and non-painters work on. Some people help me fill in the circles at the dog park mural. There are, I'm gonna escape and go to like a couple of the pictures of murals. Hold on. I'm like, where is this? Is it there? This is the Logan Square Dog Park mural pictures. You know, it's amazing. It's gigantic. It's like, there are so many people who painted on it and so many artists, and it took months to finish, and we had community buy-in, and everyone helped paint it. The Logan Square Dog Park funded it, and we work with them to finish it. It's still up. It's a little bit rough around the edges because, a little tagging and things have gone on. There's, and I recommend going and seeing it, and then this is a little, this is some design work. I don't need to show that. That's at Spertus. I'm a exhibit designer at Spertus Institute. And then this is our community mural and people painting it. And you can check out my website and my Tumblr. That's my Tumblr. And here's my website. And then if you ever wanted to check out the books I do, I have a little hashtag, Webster Institute for the History of Astronomy. It's a long hashtag, but I'm the only one who posts to it, so that's why it's a good one. You can check out those. I haven't posted anything but I'll probably post pictures in August when I go work there. And I think I'm going to stop sharing. I know it's been a long talk, and I'm so glad that everyone like came, and I'm hoping people want to ask questions. I'm super excited. I'll have to look at the chat afterwards. I've been talking the whole time.
It's been blowing up, Tracy. It's been blowing up the whole time. And the best thing about this is a great time that we're going to review the chat. But before we do, I do have questions for you just to stir this pot.
Oh, great.
Or maybe in your to situate the chair. That's to basically.
If people want to get on the video, they can, or they can just ask questions. They can do it. Anyway, I'll let you be the facilitator.
Are you really gonna let me do that though? That's the big
No. I'm stopping. I'm backing off.
Yeah, it's cool. But no, even better. No, actually. So I know definitely. I'll make sure. Thank you for everyone actually dropping questions in the chat, and I'm gonna ask just one or two, and then I'll maybe start going through the chat, and just to make sure that people. And this is gonna be going back to the beginning of the presentation too, just to make sure that people have the opportunity. So I'll ask your question. But feel free to ask it or just, ask anything else now that you've heard the whole presentation. But I guess for me, my first one was really, how does your work in arts conservation really influence your creative work though? Like, because as you being a book restorer, I know as an activist it's very apparent, but I think as far as your role as a conservator, how does that really kind of fit into your creative practice?
I think that has affected me in terms of craftsmanship. I make better frames. I like to have things precise. And I think I also used to make artist books, and I didn't even show any of those. I think it makes me more precise, and I used to also make art out of books, and I used to actually I didn't even show all my sketchbooks I used to make. There's so much stuff I haven't shown. I just picked some stuff that I had on hand and had photos of. And so in some ways, I used to be so energetic and I got a lot done. And these days I'm a little slower now. But when I was in my 20s and 30s and early 40s, I just was doing stuff all the time. So for me, conservation has kicked in my craftsmanship and made me a much more clean, neat person in terms of my work.
Awesome. No, wonderful. And actually, just I'm stir the pot even more. So I have one more question, then I'll start going through the chat. This is, and then I have other questions too, but this is the most pressing thing, just to get it out of the way. So why the chair? And also, why does the chair pop up in your work? And then what does it represent within your visual vocabulary?
I used to think of chairs as portraits of people. When I didn't want to do a portrait of them or didn't want to let anyone know why I was doing it, I would paint a chair about them. And so, I know that sounds silly, but it was it has become a symbol of utility and usefulness. And it also, for me, I see them as portrait as well. I think they're stand-ins for figures. I think that I've been using them my whole life. I think before, when I first started using them, I thought of them as portraits, or I had them combined with people. I think that is how I think of them. And then when I was doing the Rampant Art series, I was thinking of the diagrams of chairs more than actual drawings of chairs,
So it's kind of like a portrait of Elijah.
It keeps on going. It's like meta, using your word.
Meta feta. Just sprinkle that on top. It's really delicious. Yeah. So as far as at least going to the chat, the first question actually was Betsy Martins, who was asking if you were arrested in 1972, which also, fun fact, that date is also my birthday. I just want to be clear. but But beyond like whether you were arrested in 72, which I think was very probable, I think Betsy probably.
I was 4 years old.
I know. I'm not saying no. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a little too late.
Yeah, yeah. And I asked that question because there was that mugshot of you as this little girl.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, yes. Actually, there's a mugshot of my sister Kim as a baby, and a mugshot of. I have to share those. I have copies of them. I don't have the originals. I made these copies of old pictures a long time ago. But yeah, I think my father at the time was a newspaper guy, and we were at the police station, and he got them to take mugshots of us. You know, he was a photographer. Yeah, he was a photographer, and he worked on newspapers. At least that's what I think I know. You know, it's all vagary to me because I was so young. I didn't know that version of my father. So,
by the way, Tracy,
one of my friends here.
Yeah, I pulled Judy in from my birthday committee because she's going to listen too.
Happy birthday!
Anyway,
yeah. Oh,
Betsy also wants to know if you had any pics of the installation of the empty bottle pills in the sequence.
The empty pill bottles. Remember that where you?
Oh yeah,
those things. Those were so beautiful.
That was Mary Ellen Croteau.
Oh,
that was her.
Oh,
that was in an exhibit that we had, salvage exhibit. I can can share some things. Well,
per usual, you were helping another artist put their stuff out.
Mary Ellen, I was super happy Mary Ellen was in that show. Here, let's find that show. Oh, I need to go into AnySquared, not me.
Yeah.
But still Tumblr though.
This is AnySquared.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah. So that's the picture. I'm waiting for it to open. Pokey internet. Yeah, it's like Mary Ellen did these like towers. See the little thing here?
Yes.
Medicine bottles and tops and things. Cool. And this little shell piece is made out of plastic bottle caps.
Yeah.
And that was in the show too.
Yeah, it was so amazing. But
I
even if it wasn't you.
It was not me. It was not me. But Mary Ellen is somebody I think everyone should look up because she's amazing. And she, you know, she passed away in the last couple of years.
Oh no.
And I feel like I said 5 people in this talk have passed away and I'm like freaking out. Yeah, but anyway, what were the other questions, Brett?
Well, no, I mean, also it just shows the broad connection you have with the network. And so, yes, unfortunately, while we can celebrate the network, well, unfortunately, we always have to, you know.
I love other artists.
Well, no, yes, exactly. Yeah, and artists love you too, especially. So actually, the next one actually comes from Betsy too.
God.
Actually, I know, right? You were just like firing the ball. It was great. So basically, the Hall of Flags action. Did the state of Illinois employees spend looking at the Hall of Flags action?
What'd you say? Can you repeat that because I'm trained?
Yeah, the train. I know.
I can't hear you.
We'll quietly wait for the train.
Did the employees not like the Hall of Flags action?
Yeah. How did they respond to the whole thing? Like, how did
they were freaked out? But Marlene was a lawyer, so she made sure that they didn't kick us out because we had every right to be there. So they were freaked out and they were like trying to shut it down. But she was doing her lawyerly thing and making sure they didn't shut it down. She's like, we have every right to be here. We checked out the Hall of Flags. We, so yeah, that was, so it was amazing. She was amazing because she like stuck to her guns and nothing was canceled. We even had breakfast there in the morning before our action. We sent the troops off to the demonstration with a full belly. With all this food donated from all these restaurants from Pilsen and Little Village that we drove down in a van and kept in a refrigerator.
I mean, every great revolution is generated from collective calories, you know. So, you know, really gotta raise the flag. It's like this, you know, it's like political Pilates kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I know. So actually, Andrea had more of a comment, but I think it's actually worth,
Yeah.
So all the Salazar kind of case stuff, have you considered making a book, basically making an anthology of that work that you've kind of produced during the Salazar work?
I don't know. My friend Marlene was going to do a book, but then she got sick. A lot of the archives, I gave her this giant, thick notebook of photos as a gift. And when she died, her kids never gave it back to me because I wanted it, because it was actually a documentary of all the exhibits we put up and all the actions we had. And it's just lost to the ether. I have no idea where it is. And I know that Mariam is probably going to watch this video after the talk because she can't do it now. Her daughter lives in Wales, in the UK. And, if she sees this, maybe she can ask her siblings if they still have that book. And it's a documentation of the whole thing. It's a photo album, but it's thick. And I made it for her as a gift of all the photos I took. And there were many. They were all my photos. And the photos I showed were the only ones I had left. And they were like the ones I didn't put in the book.
Oh, okay.
But we have I do have archival things from that, the little newspapers and stuff like that tells some of the story. I have never thought about doing that. It's it's too painful because it's also missing my friend. So, but I think it's important, it's an important history. And I don't think that there are people who wanted to do a movie about Manuel, and he never wanted to do it. So I never got them in touch with them. He wants to be a private person because he still lives, he's a private person. He wants to not be bothered. He spent too many years in prison and he gets to have a good life. So am I answering these questions too long?
No, you're doing exceptional, and also just inspiring very spin-off. So I feel like Andrew and I have to go to England to go get this book. and preserve the tradition of it all, but also make sure that we get the book in some kind of wonderful adventure way. So I guess the next, Andrew next asked, have you ever worked with Lumpin Magazine with Enmar?
Yeah, the precursor to Lumpin, the paper I worked on in the early 90s. We started it together, the early 90s. I probably was only on the first issue of Lumpin. I quit, but we had a few months of the publication called The Paper. He kind of in his 20th anniversary, this was the paper, but I did a lot of the covers and I basically showed everyone how to do graphic design and paste up. And we were using the In These Times offices because two of the people who were on the paper were writers there as interns. So, I did work on the precursor, to the Lumpin Times, and they included in their 20 years the paper. And then I worked on the beginning issues of the Lumpin, and then I quit because I was
part of that too.
Who?
Ron?
Yes, he was early on. Ron Kolath was part of it. He quit very soon after because it was a bunch of dudes. And, I was, for a while, the only woman in the group. And it was 5 to 10 people. And sometimes there were other women who would come and go. I was in the early part, but I didn't have anything to do with the mid 90s after.
Right.
Because I quit, the quintessential Lumpin times. And I introduced Ed to a few people who became Chairman Thar. Some of the people I introduced Ed to became part of the group.
So that's your legacy. Your legacy.
It's not my legacy. It's something I was part of.
The people you left, you could left contributors.
No, it's about the chairs that she painted, though. It's about the chairs and the forks and. Joaquin actually asked, and this was probably during the conservation part of the discussion. Have you worked on any books more than once? So, when you are restoring books, are you
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, the thing is I make a repair, but maybe something wears off or something happens to the book or somebody opens it the wrong way. and I make another repair. I've worked on some, or sometimes I leave a repair until I think it through. I repair it, let it go back on the shelf in a box, and then I think it through, and then I repair it again and finish the job, because I will not touch a book until I have thought through every step and know exactly what I'm going to do, because these are irreplaceable books and they're very rare, and the only way that I can make sure is I've thought every step through, and then when I'm going through the steps I've thought through, I write down what I'm going to do to it. I even change as I go depending on what I find, because sometimes you can find a different material than you thought on the inside of the book or different things like that. It's careful, slow work,
Well, just because this is the internet and we're only concerned about clickbait and hot goss, is like a book that you've had a lot of issues with repairing?
I've had books I've had a lot of issues with.
Can you name some names just for our
No, I can't even remember, but different times I had difficult times. The reason why I don't work for individual clients on books, because they want you to do unethical things to the books. I'm not a restorer. I'm a conservator. I conserve how it is in the shape that it's in, not restore it back to looking new. So that's why I don't take on private clients. They always want it to look all fresh and new. It's a different kind of thing. But I just kind of preserve what's there and stabilize it. I don't do much more than that. Unless there's no cover, I make a cover, put it in a box. I try not to change the format of the book. So
well, just like Bob Seger, you know how to turn the page. So
stop.
Google thing and just look up random jokes. So this is gonna be one of mine. So actually, and I think we are transitioning this part as far as talking your artwork. So you do use a lot of reds and yellows, and is there a reason why you actually kind of drift to like a warm palette kind of thing? I mean, is there a reason
I always drifted towards a warm palette. I kind of tried to work against it. I incorporated that like weird sky blue kind of as a counterpoint to those two colors. I always like reds, like a deep red and a burgundy are my favorite colors. They've been my favorite colors since I was a child, so yeah, so I just love those colors, and I tend to like them in terms of what they might symbolize, like blood and love and then sun, and but I don't use them symbolically necessarily. I just like them, so I don't have a great answer for that, because I use them less now than I used to. I think the most recent painting has more red in it than I have used in 10 years. So yeah, I think that I just have always gravitated to warm colors versus cold colors or cooler colors. Although I have been, like, I would say since a decade or more ago, I've been trying to put in hotter, cooler colors into my palette and push myself and break out of my palette choices.
Yes.
Did I answer the question?
I mean, no. But actually, no. So I'm gonna throw another curveball because I know about the sports. Because it's a sports thing.
Okay.
So I'm actually really curious about I want to hear more about how you talk about how you use objects as markers within your creative progress, like objects as far as like chairs, forks, and stuff like that. So you basically you have this visual vocabulary using object stuff like that. So is that like I'm curious how you select these objects to kind of as you're evolving your creative practice, because you definitely have a very heavy chair focus, and forks and kind of these there was that you showed the baggage piece. I can't remember the full name of the piece, but like where you started showing suitcases and stuff like that too. So like, how do you really like decide that? Like, how do you really think about
that? I like that. I kind of was a play on words. Is like my chair is my baggage. Is like also my baggage as a person. That's why I did that, because I was working through things, and like my chairs that are in my house were like, because I was feeling like I needed my home and needed my space and my place. So I was choosing those. That particular piece was like that. And other things, like I chose my favorite like household items and things like that. I mean, sometimes it was very simple why I chose those objects. And doing forks and spoons and knives in general, I've always thought about them as like symbolic of sustenance, you know, or lack thereof, or people being dined on, you know. So, you know, I think that's all I can say is like sometimes objects become symbols of bigger ideas, and that those ideas change in terms of how I use them over time. So,
no, thank you for that. No,
I you know, I'm not, you know, sometimes I can't explain it. I just gravitate to it, like hardware and tools.
No. You explain it really well. You hit the hammer on the head of the nail. and thank you for sharing. But also, so the last chat question is from Thomas. Having so much experience and working on so many different kinds of a thing, what was the time that you were challenged with the most difficulty with?
Oh, Thomas with the challenge question.
And what did you learn exactly? What did you learn from that?
From organizing or art?
Art. No, we're talking about arts. Yes. I mean, organizing is always painful and complicated, but like, no, arts. We're talking about the arts. This is an art thing.
I've gone through, I don't know if Thomas was on earlier, I've gone through periods of time of painting, kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing it about. And so sometimes it's a painful process to actually get from doing art and just doing it and trying to work through things and actually finishing art. You know, it's like many times I am flustered over what things mean, because I want them to mean something. I get very flustered. I get very, I'm like, who's behind me?
Everyone.
Yeah, so I get very flustered. I get very, you know, and sometimes I do it ham-fistedly. I've made a lot of ham-fisted arts. Like I showed some pieces. I don't know, like I could probably quickly show them in the slideshow. Where's the slideshow? Where's my slideshow? Okay, forget it. I'm not gonna do it. But I did this, you know, a few pieces where I'm kind of a little embarrassed about them. I did in the earlier slideshow, like the one that says lies. You know, some of them are a little melodramatic and things like that. I think that what I learned from them is still do those things and get them out, but keep doing it and developing the ideas, because it actually develops into something eventually. You know, I think it's always been like a struggle to figure out what I want to make art about. And I've always had that challenge. And what I've learned from it is keep working and don't stop. I mean, sometimes, you know, for me, I make art in waves. I don't do it every day all the time. Like I haven't been doing art lately. I've been doing more organizing lately. And I do it in waves and chunks of time, but then I'll spend 3 or 4 months making art constantly. So I do art in waves. And so and what I've found is I get to these points of stopping because I don't know what I want to do. And then I kind of have to push through it, you know? And I think that's what I've learned is push through and like the technique of continue working through it, even if it is painful and it's not going well. You know, because I've had a lot of art that I'm like, I don't like this. It's not finished. It's not like what I want it to be. I have this idea, but like kind of separating what my ideas about work are from what it's becoming in itself, like kind of being more open and less rigid. Like over time, I've become less rigid about my art in terms of accepting where it's going and letting it take its course versus trying to make it something that I had in my head. You know, I play, that's a definite push and pull in my head. What do you have? Eric has a question.
Are there some utensils that you like contemplate on connecting a human connection to that you wanted to express in art that you kind of shied away from? But maybe you can talk about if that's the case and why.
He said something about, are there utensils that I've shied away from in art, and things that I've not done, and because to correlate the community.
Like how you said with the forks and things, you said that you looked at them as a sense of
sustenance. Yeah.
Has there been other objects?
He's asking me if I've like shied away from other objects, in terms of their meaning and what they're doing. And actually, if anyone in here wants to ask a question, get behind me so everyone can hear your question. Eric's here. But I don't know if there's objects I shied away from. I just didn't do them. I don't do knives that much, but I did a few different pieces that had knives in them. I think I didn't want to, like I did a couple like steak knives pieces. Somebody has them. I don't know where they are because I never did that object again. And there's a few objects I've never done again, but forks, spoons, and chairs, and and buildings and things like that I've done over and over again. Does that answer your question? Yeah. I think I dropped some things because I don't feel like they had deep meaning for me, and I like kind of like put them by the wayside and did other things, Any more questions?
I
want a utensil tattoo.
Oh, actually, yeah, I do too. Actually, I would take. Oh, yeah, I would love a Tracy chair tattoo.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't want to
draw one again.
For it. I don't want to sit down because it's a chair thing. Because you don't want to sit. We're really tired. Puns are really hard at night.
Yeah.
Oh, Betsy has one.
I love your chairs.
Oh, that was a comment. Okay, that was a comment. That's still good. What is that it?
That's it. I just love them. No, I love a lot of things about Tracy and Tracy's art, and I lived down the street from Tracy for a long time. So but I especially love your chairs. They're symbolic, they're things people rest on, they're things people sit on to think. They're things that many, many unusual things happen on chairs, and I love them. I love yours.
Many things happen on chairs.
All right. No, this is an hairpin.
Everyone's enjoying it here.
Oh yeah, but this is gonna be a hairpin like on Saturday, so we don't come up. We don't a deviant center. I think Laura has a question. I have a feeling Laura has a question.
Laura.
I don't know that I have so much a question. I just feel like you've been such a staple in that community. And I kind of just want to like thank you for like the inspiration. I just made like 3 pages of notes. Okay. So like, this is the kind of when I hear your laugh, like Brett was saying in the beginning, when I see your face, when I hear you talk and the passion that is in you, I give a lot to students, and I know you give a lot to the community, and sometimes that can be so draining. But when I hear someone else talk about their work, it just reignites everything inside me. It makes you guys we miss you guys so much, and especially you, Tracy. I mean, and I just want to say, just keep going on and keep doing everything, because you are the like spark that's made a fire around everything, and you are the fire. And we feed off you, and not in the bad forest fire kind of way, but like the beautiful, sorry, because we've got a lot of forest fires. So, and in the beautiful, like, oh my gosh, instilling passion in people again, that to reinvest in their communities and to double down on all this and not sit by the wayside. And I think that's really the most important thing we can all like take away from you, that you're never sitting on the sidelines. You're out there, putting it out there, and hopefully inspiring all the rest of us to like do that too. So I just want to say thank you mostly. So sorry, it's not really a question, but
thanks.
Such an inspiration, Tracy. It's amazing.
No, that's very true, Laura. And actually, we miss you too. And Laura was also a really big deal with AnySquared back in the day and helped us out so much. And like, yeah, it's good. No, yeah.
Really good exhibits too.
No, it was sad to see you leave too. And it was, and that's it. Like, yeah. Anyways, long story short, like, yeah, Tracy is the rock that our river flows around. And so I'm actually gonna draw this down. Yeah, I know we could all cry off recording, but I do want to draw this down as this guest host, so I could be the best guest host of this series.
Andrew has a question.
God dang it! Oh my god, I was gonna be excited.
Wait, I feel like this is a good sort of wrap up.
Okay. Go.
Tracy, as like a sort of artist and art organizer, what would you say would be the best advice you'd give to the sort of next generation?
Oh my God, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Keep making work and do it yourself, because no one's going to like make space for you. You got to make space for others and make space for you. I came out of art school, a very elitist art school, and I felt like there was no space for me. and I felt like what I was doing and how I was being didn't fit into that elitist art school kind of idea. And so making space for others has been my mission in life, and making a space here and making space where we could show things. And also for me too, it's for me too. I started off doing some, DIY exhibits on my own, and everyone should do that. Find a place to show things. Keep trying. I think that it's the things in terms of the like a certain kind of the art world, and I think maybe I haven't made this point yet, is it's very elitist and it's very clubby, and that is the opposite of what I want AnySquared to be. I want it to be inviting and welcoming, and that is what I want in life. I want people to be welcomed. I wanted that when I was younger. I didn't have that when I was younger. I didn't have a group to do that with, and I'm so happy I do now, like with other people, like that we work together and we do things together. And also, sometimes my actual art making suffers because I'm organizing all these things, but I get so excited about organizing the other things too. I see that as my social art. I am a social artist. I get people together. I make places and work with others to make places to bring people together. I think of myself as a social artist as well as a visual artist. And I've made a lot of visual art that a lot of people here haven't seen, because I don't have it anymore, because I either sold it or gave it away. So, but all they've seen is what I've been making lately, which is not as much. but I still make art, and I still want to make art, and it bites me sometimes, it doesn't always bite me. So for younger people, I say, keep making art, keep pushing through, and finding your place and making your place. Don't let other people say no to you. Make it yourself. I've been in the DIY movement since the 90s, It's like make your own places where you have music, and make your own places where you have art, and make your own places where you have film, you know, all of those things. It's like you got to make your own places, because the what gatekeepers only like what they like and only let people in who they want to let in. And, you know, for me, it's about busting that open and like everyone being able to do these things and like making, you know, making it like for yourself and everyone else, like, you know, keep that community mindedness too, because I think that a lot of the people who come to AnySquared found a community here because we're supporting each other, and it's not just me, it's everybody. AnySquared is not just me, it's everybody who comes here, and everybody who comes here adds like a little piece, and then it becomes a bigger building. AnySquared exponential, you know. Squared. Yeah, look at your face, is hilarious.
You know, I mean, just talk about the math thing. We're like, oh, there's a, oh, yeah, gotta have, no, but like, no, and I think, and you're right about all the things, but especially at least as far as the AnySquared stuff, yeah, it is helpful to find the crew to do it with, and to
And
like
make your own crew.
But every wave had every ripple has a wave kind of thing. And you are the ripple and the wave, and it's wonderful to see the ocean of emotion that AnySquared is. Also, yeah, all this.
Brett should come out with a book of his own analogies, Eric says.
Whoa, no, well, it's you know, I like writing stuff about, you know, the sea, because I know how to have a good maritime, so it's great. But like, I actually do want to draw this close, because this has been going on.
Let's draw it to a close.
But actually, this is more draw the recording close, and so thank you so much for coming out to really embrace the wonderful work and creative practice of Tracy Kostenbader. We generally appreciate her contribution to the creative ecosystem, but also just her wonderful demeanor and ways of doing things. So I hope you all will pay attention to what we do more and more. But at the same time, thank you so much for coming out.
Oh my God! Thanks. We have a little audience around me.
Oh yeah.
Check social media for future Zooms and future streams.